Hi, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the Lazare podcast. This episode features me, Lazare, and my guest, Gus Shamieh, the chairman of Cream. A little bit about Cream. Cream is an ice cream sandwich shop founded by the Shamieh family in 2010. When prime real estate in downtown Berkeley became available for lease, Gus's dad, Jimmy, smelled opportunity. He went to his family to brainstorm business ideas, eventually settling on a delightful dessert Mama Shamieh made. 2 warm cookies, fresh out of the oven, with a generous scoop of ice cream nestled in between. The focus on desserts is even in the name. Cream is a spin-off of a popular Wu-Tang song, an acronym for Cookies Rule Everything Around Me. In this talk, we discuss how to navigate business decisions when your partners are also family members, why it might be a good idea to go back to college when your company is still scaling, and the importance of social media and building a loyal fan base. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my chat with Gus Shamieh. Welcome to the Lazare podcast, a place where I talk to exceptional individuals who have found their flow. In this first season, I attempt to capture the mental processes of entrepreneurs and explain how they started movements that make them tap dance to work each day. This podcast is for students, entrepreneurs, and anybody in between the two. And now, this podcast's first advertisement. Remember Professor McDaniel from the last episode? Professor McDaniel is a CMO at IP Shark. IP Shark is an e-commerce brand protection company that helps businesses eliminate counterfeit products, stop unauthorized sellers, prevent the misuse of their intellectual property, and better control their online distribution channels. With a 92% success rate and over 1 million listing takedowns, IP Shark's full-service solution helps any company looking to protect their products online. You can find out more at ipshark.com. First, let's talk about Cream's origin story. Could you walk us through how the company got started?
Absolutely. So the concept actually started over 25 years ago in my home, actually. I have an older sister. She's 3 years older than me. And when we were kids, my mom would, bake cookies at the house from scratch and kind of play around with the recipes. And my sister and I, being little kids that we were, experimented with different things between the cookies. We went from marshmallows to candy bars to peanut butter and jelly.
Cool.
But then we tried ice cream and we fell in love, and we stopped experimenting because we found the one. And it just was a part of our family, and that's all it ever was. And when friends would come over after baseball games or softball games or whatever it was, they always wanted Mrs. Shamieh's ice cream sandwiches. In 2008, when the economy took a downturn, we had a family meeting and we said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do to put food on the table? And people threw out all kinds of ideas, but a lot of the ideas didn't have the passion or love behind it that we wanted. And so somebody threw out ice cream sandwiches and everybody's eyes just kind of opened, and it was like a light bulb went off. When we opened in Berkeley in 2010, right on the corner of Telegraph and Channing, it was just a small mom and pop shop. My sister had a full-time job at Trader Joe's, and my mom would bring her after work, and the 4 of us would work all the way through until closing. We'd mop the floors, we'd clean the cookie trays. If a friend or family member came to see the shop or congratulate us, we put them to work. We put them scooping ice cream because we just didn't have the employees. The reception from the community was so great. People loved the product, loved the experience so much. There was this white passenger van, one that fits like 6 to 8 folks in there. And it pulls up to the corner, Telegraph and Channing. We see 3 couples get out. So 6 people get out and they get in line. We had a small line out the door around the corner. They come through the line, they order their sandwich. And when they get to the register, Jimmy goes, "Oh, I saw you guys get out of like a mini tour bus. Are you guys touring Berkeley or going to Napa?" They're like, "No, we actually came for Cream." Jimmy's like, came for Cream? What do you mean? Yeah, we came specifically for Cream. Come from where? Where'd you come from? And they said Fresno. When we realized that people wanted to drive that far to experience us, we thought, hey, why should we make them drive that far? Let's open opportunities for people to own their own small business like we do now. And let's let people spread the joy that is Cream to communities around. And here we are today, 28 locations across 4 different states.
Cream is family owned and ran. How does close proximity in decision-making work when your business partners are also related to you? More importantly, how do you stay sane?
Who said I was sane? So for the first 6 to 8 months, it was all encompassing. There, 7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day. What I found to be enjoyable was really taking any opportunity I had that was not work related to, be with friends and just talk about anything else, right? Because you need that clarity in order to go back to work and be effective. Because if you're all consumed all the time, you just kind of get in your own little bubble. But if you take some time to talk to friends about other subjects or go to the gym, which I like to do, even if it's a day, even if it's, half a day, you come back the next day and you feel a little refreshed, rejuvenated. A lot of the times that would lead to solutions to some difficult problems.
That's interesting. What about the decision-making process?
It's really a collective process where we would sit around the dinner table, like Jimmy said, my dad. Business is taken home every night, especially in the beginning few years. So when we come home around the dinner table, we would share ideas and have those heated debates and exchanges. We would take a mini vote around the table. So what do you think? What do you think? Why do you think this? As best as we could. And we'd eventually reach, sometimes not a unanimous decision. Sometimes one person had to say, I strongly believe in this. Let me take the lead on it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm right, then I won't rub it in your faces. It's truly the essence of a team. Jimmy served as the head coach, but, we all had an input and were able to shape the business. The store closes at 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. Yeah. It was my sister and I that said, hey, guys, people like to go out late at night and everybody looks for something to eat after. Something, could be sweet, could be not. But if we're one of the few places open, then we can make this a destination. That's an example of kind of the team discussion. My parents didn't have a full grasp on the college nightlife and, what that looked like.
It sounds like the family makes decisions in such an organic way that it doesn't really matter if you're president, CEO, or a store owner of Cream. That if you're part of the family, you can guide the company's innovation too.
That is true to a certain extent. I think it's important to have some structure in an organization to show that there's clear leadership. But you're right, it's informal, but not too informal. But those titles kind of help when dealing with vendors or suppliers or new franchisees or whatever it may be. People resonate with them and people understand them, people know them and are familiar with them. So that's why it's important to have them even in an organic kind of setting like Cream.
Is there a clear hierarchy if two family members are completely opposed and can't find a solution? For example, does Mama Shamieh have final say over all things involving cookies?
Well, whatever Mama Shamieh says goes.
That's the rule.
Fortunately, that hasn't happened, Lazare. We're usually on similar pages. We're usually not on different chapters or on different books. At the end of the day, Jimmy's the CEO, and he has the family's full trust and confidence. And so if it comes down to it and Jimmy decides one way or the other, he's going to have the support of the family is in full weight behind it. So that's the beauty of it. People can voice their opinions and share their thoughts, but when a decision is made, and we go out there and we execute.
You just made me think of a question out of left field. I noticed that the temperature got slightly adjusted on the cookies. Who makes the decision for that kind of thing? Do they get implemented nationwide? And are you still tinkering with that aspect of the product?
Sure. So Mom is the brains behind the product development side of things, and no change is done without her sign-off. And because we have 3 quote-unquote corporate stores, Berkeley, Palo Alto, and Oakland, we're able to test some changes in different markets to make sure that it's effective or not effective before we roll it out. Because just because you have an experience in one location doesn't mean that it's consistent across the board, unfortunately. We leverage the corporate stores as testing grounds for things.
That's cool. I think your mom's on to something. She found a temperature where the ice cream doesn't get everywhere, but it's still warm and gooey. I noticed that you got your law degree from Northwestern University a few years ago. Do you mind talking a little bit about that experience?
When we started Cream, I was an undergrad at University of San Francisco. I graduated, and then I took about a year and a half, 2 years off to focus on the business. And then I went to law school. Now, the decision to go to law school was influenced by the business. The vision was that I'd always come back to the business after law school and help solidify the legal side of things in the business. While I was in law school, I was able to dabble in different interests in different fields.
Were you still involved in Cream in any capacity while attending law school?
Definitely not the day-to-day or the day-to-day decision-making. But if there was a larger issue looming, we would have a conference call, and of course I'd be on it. If there was a grand opening, I'd help with the marketing behind it. And, whenever I was back for breaks or whatever it may be, I was in the office working as if I had never left. But everybody understood that it would be more impactful for the business and for myself that I am not involved in the day-to-day operation because it just doesn't make sense.
During your leave of absence, you became a venture capital fellow at Ringleader Ventures, and I'm wondering what lessons you learned from analyzing those businesses and getting that industry exposure. How did you apply those lessons to Cream?
Yeah, that was really my first dabble into the venture capital world. Even though, we grew up in the Bay Area, it's funny that it took me moving to Chicago to really get a taste of what that's like. And my responsibilities were identifying businesses that were a good fit for this particular VC. I got a chance to interview founders at some incubators, 1951 incubator in Chicago, very famous one. Because I had the passion and I had the know-how of baking and operations, but I wasn't exposed to the VC side of things. So it gave me an understanding of how important having your numbers dialed in and your financial side of things dialed in is. And then when you combine that with your passion and know-how and operations and expertise and what it is that you do, it really makes for a great opportunity for a VC.
Did you get into this business to help raise capital for Cream's expansion?
Now, we have not sought out funding. We have not, gone out and looked for VC money. But those lessons still hold true every day because I always think back to, okay, got to have the financial side of things dialed in, got to understand, metrics and so on and so forth.
How did you learn the appropriate metrics for such a new industry, and how did you become financially literate? I know that there are a lot of archaic terms to sort through.
So I leveraged every resource I could. That included professors at law school who I made connections with outside of the classroom who were extremely well-versed in business. And they taught me some things that, I don't think I would have gotten otherwise. Law school was such an important route for me, but also a ton of research on your own, Lazare, and a ton of experience just because you have to do it. And when you're forced to do something, when you have to do something because of obligations to the company or the franchisee, you immerse yourself in it and you learn it, whether by hook or by crook, you learn the dang thing. A combination of all those things led to some financial acumen that I'm able to carry with me today.
Was there an existing blueprint you copied for Cream's franchise?
So when we started, there was no blueprint, right? There's 100 burger chains. There's 100 pizza places that you can go and learn from and take pieces of this and pieces of that and put together your own concept. But there was no ice cream sandwich concept around. We were the first. And so it was hard to create this blueprint from complete scratch.
What does the checklist for a franchisee look like now that you've created your own unique business model?
Sure. So the first thing is making sure that these folks have, just as much passion in the product and the brand as we do, and who have the desire to own their own business and work it day in and day out. That's truly what makes Cream stand out. And number two is the location. We get inquiries from people all the time. Their location just doesn't make sense. Maybe we're not ready for that state at that time, or maybe we don't suggest this particular location. That's tremendously important for us. Those are the two key buckets that we look at when deciding whether to take on a franchisee or kind of hold off until there's another opportunity.
I'm a little bit naive when it comes to retail and the key performance metrics for the real estate of a franchise. When the location is bad or good, are you mainly looking at foot traffic or property pricing when making business decisions?
Common sense, right, is rent, right, and square footage. Is the size bigger than what you typically need? If it is, then you're going to pay X dollars, call it $1,000 a month extra for space that you don't need. And then rent. Rent in the Bay Area has been brutal for small businesses, and you see small businesses shutter their doors all the time, and these bigger, more expensive concepts kind of taking their place. So it's important to find rent that's sustainable with the vision of what the product is and the vision of what the brand is and, how we model our business. And it's important not to get caught up in, bigger space is better space, because that's not always the case. And there's a lot of other important metrics that we look at that don't necessarily want to go into too much detail here that are important components for us.
If you had to pick one class that helped you the most in your running cream today, which would you choose?
My undergrad was focused in international studies, so I didn't take much business. Although I wish I did. I wish I took some finance classes because I think that would have been valuable in the onset of the business. I would say business principles for lawyers in law school. Business principles for lawyers is all about formation of companies and tax liabilities and shareholders and made us read some P&Ls and made us analyze financial statements and put together a presentation as if we're presenting to shareholders. That was one of the most valuable classes for the business side of things.
If you could give one piece of advice to a young entrepreneur, what would it be?
I would say do something that you're passionate about and that you care about. It doesn't have to be the next Facebook or the next LinkedIn or Google. It doesn't have to be the next Tesla or SpaceX. An idea can be as simple as an ice cream sandwich. You don't have to reinvent something to be a successful entrepreneur. I know we live in Silicon Valley. We live in the Bay Area, famed for all the tech, but not everything has to be tech. You walk down the street, you go to that restaurant that's owned by a mom and pop who work their butts off 6-7 days a week to put out some good food because they're passionate about it. Find something you're passionate about. Find something you care about. Find something you know how to do or learn how to do it, and go out there and execute to the best of your dang ability. Failure is part of the process. Learnings are part of the process, but learn forward. Make mistakes forward, meaning learn from your mistakes and don't let that same mistake happen again. And it may take 100 failures to have one success, but sometimes that one success is all you need.
So I wanted to cap this talk off with an easy one. You're going to cream with a couple of friends. What's your go-to order?
Oh, I got two. Two. For anybody who hasn't tried our waffle ice cream sandwich, it is my favorite thing on the menu. Don't tell Mama Shamieh. It is it's a Belgian waffle that we make to order, right? It takes about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes to make, but it is worth every second. I like to put cookies and cream or salted caramel between there with some caramel sauce. And it is truly amazing. Truly amazing. If I were to go cookies, I do snickerdoodle cookies with cookie dough ice cream or strawberry ice cream if it's a hot day.
There you have it. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast this week. You can subscribe at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, feel free to give me a review or feedback. You can also hit me up at lazarespodcast.com/contact. Cheers.